Welcome to the Department of Dental Informatics Introduction to Axium for Staff. Before we get into Axium, I should point out a few resources that you have access to should you ever have questions about Axium. First, you can find both Axium and in-house training materials by clicking on links from the menu bar and selecting Axium Training. This will take you to the extranet. Just remember that the extranet is only accessible from computers on campus, so keep that in mind before trying to access these documents. In addition to this video, we have several more videos that apply to faculty, students, and staff, which you can find by searching for OU Dentistry on YouTube or visiting tinyurl.com/OUCOD videos. As always, if you have any questions or would like additional training, you can stop by the Dental Informatics office in room 361 in the College of Dentistry, submit an Insight ticket from the COD website, or call our office at 55481.
So what is Axium? Axium is a practice management software designed specifically for dental education institutions. Basically what that means is that it is used in all aspects of the clinical setting, from administrative chart management, appointment scheduling, to recording findings and treatments chairside, and everything else related to the management of patient care. Additionally, Axium is used in the management of academic activities such as evaluations, progress monitoring, etc. When you open Axium, the first thing you'll see is the Rolodex, which is where you can find and add patients. On the left side of the screen are icons that give you access to the most frequently used modules of Axium, such as the scheduler, electronic health record, and patient attachments. You can also access these and other less frequently used modules by clicking on the Actions menu in the top left.
Before adding a new patient in Axium, it's important to search the Rolodex first to make sure the patient does not already exist in the system. Creating duplicate charts creates a domino effect of problems, so be sure to search the Rolodex before adding a patient, even if they say they've never been here before. To find a patient from the Rolodex, you can search by last name, first name, chart number, or date of birth by month, day, year. If a search brings up multiple patients with the same name, date of birth is the best way to verify the account. If none of your searches turns up a patient record, you can go ahead and create a new account. To create a new patient record, click the folder with the green plus Add Patient button in the Rolodex. This will bring up a blank patient card where you can add all of the patient's information. A good rule of thumb is to fill out as much information as possible rather than just the required information, since it's always better to have too much information than too little. Once you've filled out all of the basic demographics on the first page, move over to the Codes tab where you will enter the patient's ethnicity, language, employment, and so on. This information is required for accreditation, so it's important to be as thorough as possible. Before moving on, it's worth pointing out the checkboxes in the lower left corner of this tab. Here you will find two options which are frequently used: free access and release of information on file. When you check the free access box, anyone who can log into Axium can access the free access patient's chart. By default, patients' charts are limited to the patient's assigned provider, faculty, residents, and administrative staff. However, if a student is on rotation in your clinic and is not assigned to the patient being seen, checking free access in the patient card gives the student access to the chart. Just remember that free access expires after 24 hours, so after this period, the provider will no longer have access to the patient chart, and free access will return to unchecked. The release of information on file checkbox should be checked as soon as you've obtained the patient's release, so the faculty, staff, and students know that there is documentation on file that indicates with whom, if anyone, it is appropriate to share protected health information. Moving on, in the Clinical tab, you will add an emergency contact, after which you can save the new patient record. Quickly moving through the three additional tabs, the Guarantor tab will default to the patient's contact information. If the guarantor is someone other than the patient, click the light bulb at the top of the window to clear all the fields. A guarantor may also be in the system as a patient or as a guarantor of another patient, so to avoid duplicates, it's best to search the guarantor Rolodex first. If the guarantor cannot be found, fill in as much as you can and click the green plus to add the new record. To add the employer of the patient or guarantor, click the ellipsis to the right of the employer field and search. If the employer is not found, click the green plus Add Record icon to enter the information accordingly. If the patient doesn't know the address or phone number of their employer, which is not uncommon, you can use Google as a resource here. Again, click the green plus Add Record button to add the employer to the patient's account. Finally, insurance can be added by clicking on the Insurance Link button. The easiest way to find insurance is by group number, since one parent company can have multiple unique groups. If you can't find the insurance template you need, you can open an Insight ticket with Dental Informatics and we will create a new template for you. Just be sure to get the insurance breakdown from the company and fill out a breakdown form to include with your Insight ticket. If you don't know where the benefit breakdown forms are, ask your supervisor or contact DI and we will help you out. If the insurance is listed with the correct group number, double-click the plan, affirm that you want to add it to the patient's record, and fill out the following window, double-checking the subscriber number as it doesn't always match the patient's social security number, the insurance start date, the deductible amount, and the limit if there is one. Finally, if the patient is a referral patient from an outside provider, you can enter that information on the patient's card under Clinical and by searching for the provider's name in the Referrals By and Referrals To.
Creating an appointment in Axium is a fairly straightforward process. In the Scheduler module, choose the preferred date from the calendar at the bottom of the Scheduler window. Click on an available time frame under the desired provider's name. Select the patient you want to book, either from the working list or using search, and then entering the appointment details such as appointment code, whether or not there is a secondary provider, the appointment status, etc. The right click in the scheduler gives you a robust selection of options. For this video, I will quickly go through each function, many of which are fairly self-explanatory. From the top of the contextual menu, you can quickly access the patient card, select the patient if you want to activate their chart to see attachments, their EHR, etc. You can also show the patient's appointment history and access their appointment expert, where you can find availability based on whatever criteria you want. You can instigate the check-in, seat, and check-out processes. You can also change the status of the appointment by confirming, editing, canceling, failing, or deleting the appointment. To go into the scheduler a little bit more in depth, I'd like to take a few seconds to point out a few details which will give you a wealth of information about your appointments at a glance. For starters, you might notice a red or green A in the lower right of a patient's appointment box. These amendments indicate that there is an alert on the patient's chart, with green meaning a patient alert, such as an overdue balance, and red meaning a medical alert, which is usually a health condition that is considered in treatment. Another detail is the color of the text in each appointment block. Text may be green, indicating the appointment is scheduled, blue, meaning confirmed, red for checked in, black means the patient is seated in the chair, and gray tells you the patient has been checked out. It is particularly important to pay attention to the stages of this process while your patient is in the clinic, because the time from checked in to checked out is recorded for both understanding productivity as well as accreditation purposes. Finally, a black X over an appointment lets you know that the appointment has been canceled, and a red X indicates a failed appointment. Some users find adding an appointment using the personal planner more straightforward than the scheduler module. With the patient for whom you would like to create a new appointment selected, open the Appointments tab in your personal planner and click the folder with the green plus to create a new entry. The new appointment window will open where you can complete the entry by filling out all the required fields.
There will come a time when a provider or patient asks what procedures will be performed in future appointments. While it's simple to view upcoming scheduled appointments in the scheduler or patient card, these views do not have what treatments are scheduled for the day of the appointment. To see what procedures will be performed in a scheduled appointment, make sure your patient is selected and open their EHR. In the Treatment History tab, select Appointments from the Views menu on the right side of the EHR. If there are any planned appointments with scheduled treatments, they will show up here along with other information such as provider, approving user, scheduled or recalled appointments denoted by S and RC respectively, and more.
Throughout Axiom, you will notice a green binder clip icon. Clicking on this icon will bring you to the patient's attachments. There are many different sections and tabs in the attachment module, so I won't go through everyone here. So just know that the concepts are basically the same for whichever tabs you use. To add an electronic document, say a consent form, make sure you're in the consent form section and the tab where you want to add the attachment and click the green plus to add a new record. Choose the consent type. For the purposes of demonstration, we will just add a consent for electronic communication and click OK. A window will open asking for the signer's relation to the patient. Next is a preview of the form which you can print out for the patient if they'd like to review before signing or if they request a copy for their records. Once you close this window, the signature window will open where the patient can sign using a signature pad. When you have collected their signature, click OK and you will see the form is now attached to the chart. Adding a scanned copy of a document to a chart is a bit of a different process. Since everything is saved on our servers, electronic forms are often required because they require less storage space. This is why scanning documents has been restricted to very specific locations in the attachments module. If you are in one of the areas that allows scanning, click on the green plus to add a record and a window will open asking for a description and the scanned attachment. The description can be a brief 2 or 3 word description. To begin scanning, click on the Scan Direct button and check a few options for accuracy, the scan size, whether or not you want to use duplex scanning, which scans both sides of the document, and scan quality as well. For most scans, grayscale is the best option. However, some documents like photo IDs or other legal documents are best scanned in color, retaining as much detail as possible. With the document scanned, make sure the correct section and sub-tab fields are selected and then click OK.
The required forms for all patients at the College of Dentistry are the Acknowledgement of Privacy Practices, which explains how we use protected health information, consent to treatment, the electronic communications consent, our financial policy, and finally, a form that is optional but good to have on hand is the verbal release of protected health information, which is a form giving the college permission to discuss PHI with a third party, such as a spouse or guardian.
As may be obvious, recalls are reminders of when a patient should be seen for a follow-up to their appointment. Each procedure that requires a recall has been set up to automatically add the correct future date increment based on the procedure code. For instance, if a patient has come in for a 4910 perio, upon completion of the procedure, a recall for 3 months out will be added to the patient card. Alternately, a patient seen for a 7210 removal of an erupted tooth will have a recall for 2 weeks from the appointment date. As with all things, there are exceptions to the rules, and in this section, we will discuss adding and modifying a recall. The recall process begins when a treatment is completed by the provider. If the treatment has a recall code associated with it, Axiom will prompt the provider to add the recommended recall or to edit it accordingly. When the patient comes to the front desk to check out, you can simply double-click on their appointment to see any recalls the provider may have entered. If the patient wants to book the follow-up at this point, they can. Just remember, with patients often being seen for multiple reasons and in different clinics, you may see more than one entry in the recall list. If this happens, just make sure that you click the recall that matches the treatment for which the patient is checking out. Double-click the recall that you would like to add. Now, in the Edit Appointment window, you will see that the recall box is checked and a future date has been added for around the time of the treatment-defined recall. To mark a recall as scheduled or complete, go back to the Edit Appointment window, select Recalls, and select the entry you want to modify. If the recall status is canceled, completed, pending, or any of the other statuses, just select the correct status and modify. Finally, if you find it more convenient, you can access the patient's recalls from their card by clicking on the toothbrush and envelope icon at the top of their patient card.
There are several reports that are run daily through the Axium Info Manager module. Today we'll discuss a couple of the most frequently run administrative reports, which are appointments with balances, missing procedures, patient recalls, bank deposit, and in-process treatments. While you may not run into some of these reports yourself, many of the principles and concepts are the same, so this can still be a useful section regardless of how you use Info Manager. Also, because we are using the training database to create this video, there will not be any live data in any of these reports, so your reports will look quite a bit different. Dental Informatics sends out a daily appointments with balances report for the following business day. However, your office manager should create a practice-specific report for appointments farther in the future so that staff can call patients ahead of their visit to alert them to the balance so it isn't a surprise when they arrive. In order to create an appointments with balances report, open Info Manager, click on the Appointment tab, open the predefined menu, and double-click Appointments with Balances. This will load the template, which you will be able to modify to your particular needs. Let's say it's a Monday and you want to view appointments with balances for a window of 2 weeks beginning 1 week from today. Click on the appointment date header, choose Between for the operator, and select the dates you want to view. Choose Modify and Close. Next, choose your clinic by clicking on the clinic name header. Find and double-click your clinic, click Add, Close, and you can now run the search. Another report your clinic will run daily is the Missing Charges, also known as Missing Procedures report. Missing Procedures compiles a list of students, residents, and faculty who have missing or incomplete entries in the EHR. Basically, this report makes sure that there are no loose ends on a patient's chart and all elements of the treatment are recorded in full. Again, Dental Informatics sends this report out weekly, but your clinic may have its own schedule, more or less frequently. This report is very important for a couple of reasons, the most important being that if a student is on the list for more than a week, they risk losing access to instruments per the school's policy. To run this report in Info Manager, choose the Practice tab, double-click on Missing Charges, and set the date range you want to see. You can go back as far as you want. The beginning of the semester or school year is usually a good starting point. For the end date, you can choose the previous day. If you choose the current day or a date in the future, you will get a report with many students who are still in clinic and have not completed all of their notes and procedures. You can then click on the ellipsis to the right of the clinic field and choose the clinic for which you would like to see the missing charges. With your selection made, click OK, then choose Print or Preview. Preview obviously lets you preview the report before printing it, but you can also export the document from this window if you'd like to save it as a PDF or some other format. The bank deposit report is run daily by PSC's front desk staff as well as the central billing office, although at different times respectively. Every PSC that handles patient payments will run a report at the end of business day as part of reconciling their deposit. The billing office runs the report the following morning to make sure the deposit totals match the transaction totals recorded in Axium. To run the bank deposit report, open the Practice tab and double-click on the bank deposit report. This is where the PSC front desk and the billing office procedures differ a little. PSCs will run the report by user as self, while the CBO will run the report by bank. Choose the correct date for the report and click Preview or Print. Finally, the in-process treatment reports are run in order to verify with the students, residents, and faculty that all treatments listed as in process are accurately listed as such. This ensures that all claims are submitted on time. To run the in-process treatment report, choose the Billing tab, Treatments, and Predefined. DI already has a number of templates that you can use. Double-click on the in-process treatment and click Search. If a procedure has been completed but is still showing up on the in-process treatment report, students can work with their PSC and GPD to correct the entry.
There may be a point at which a provider asks you to pull up a patient's medical history. You can find medical history two ways. through the EHR, or through patient attachments. Both give you the same information in basically the same format, so feel free to choose whichever is more convenient to your workflow. To reach the medical history through the EHR, click on the Forms tab and select Medical History. Viewing medical history from patient attachments is the exact same process. Click Forms and choose Medical History. Since having a current medical history form on file is so important, we have built a flag into Axium to alert all users of missing or outdated information. At the bottom of the Axium window, you will notice a small field with MHX. This will occasionally appear in two forms. If a medical history has not been approved for 12 months or more, red letters will appear against a black background. If there is no medical history on file, you will see MHX in red letters against a white background. This concludes the Department of Dental Informatics staff training video. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to stop by our office in room 361 on the 3rd floor. Call us on campus at 55481 or submit an Insight ticket on the COD website. Thank you for watching.